And we are back this week with the Survivor News on the Purple Pants Podcast. And listen, if you listening, you might want to take a look on the YouTube because we are live and in color with not one baby boy, but two baby boys. We've got the winner of Ghost Island. We've got Winners at War HGTV host, Wendell Holland. And listen, it's giving not square, not octagon, but it's given the circle. Jack Atkins has returned to the podcast. What is popping, everybody?
What's up? So happy to be back, Brice.
Yes. If y'all are watching on YouTube, Jack is giving very much Halloween coach Jack
referee.
Coach, referee.
Yeah, I mean, I figured we're recording the day before Halloween. I have to dress up a little bit, but I guess I didn't get the memo. Oh. Although you got your butterfly clip.
He's dressed up, Jack. He is dressed up. Look at this guy.
I got the broccoli taking over. It's been a while since we've talked to you, Jack. How has life been transitioning from the circle back to school, Survivor Zone? What's that giving?
Oh, I mean, it's been so long. Not only since we had Winners at War and we covered Winners at War, but just, being on the podcast, it's been over a year now. So I'm so happy to be back, talk about Survivor. You know how much I love Survivor, and my friend Xander's on it and he's been crushing it. So it's been amazing watching the season unfold with him. But other than that, yeah, obviously since the last time we had a Survivor season, I did the Circle season 2, which was a crazy experience in itself. Definitely switched up my life a little bit, but I've been doing well. I'm back in school, still finishing that up. And just pushing through. Things have been great, though. Things have been great.
We love that. You say you know Zaddy Zans. I think I talked about it on the podcast, but how do you know Xander?
So Xander and I are in the same fraternity at my school, and he's actually like my little in the fraternity. So I'm Zaddy Xander's actual Zaddy in the frat. So I'm a Zaddy Zad. I'm a grand Zaddy. So
and is this the same fraternity that the great Spencer or Raymond from Cagayan went to?
It is the same fraternity. We've got, he's on one of the composites that we have in the house. So our fraternity, I guess, is somehow just the reality TV fraternity. It's a really crazy coincidence. Xander and I were doing casting at the same exact time for our respective shows. So the fact that not only one of us, but both of us got on TV is just mind blowing, honestly. But it's been so great to experience with him.
Were y'all comparing notes while you were going through casting?
A little bit. I think most of my casting happened primarily while he was in the early stages of his, but obviously I did my best to help him in any way I could, give him any tips that I felt like I knew, but he's such a dynamic person that I think he was going to crush it regardless. So
was Xander a fan of the show, or did you get him into Survivor? Ooh, not the buff on the hand.
Oh yeah, we got to rep the tribe. Yeah, so that's also like just a crazy component of the whole story is last summer, before either of us had applied to the respective shows, he and I were the only ones living in our fraternity because it was over the summer. It was COVID going on. A lot of people were home, and most days we would wake up and just binge watch Survivor together. He had watched it growing up with his family, but I think he stopped in like the early 20s. And then once Winners at War came on, he and his family started watching again, and he knew I was a Survivor fan, so we were just rewatching seasons. I've watched some seasons so many times that most of the summer I wasn't watching a ton, but I'd come out of my room and he'd be in the living room watching a season every day. And it was, and so finally I realized he was in the casting process. I was like, all right, it makes sense why you've been religiously watching this show.
Do we know if Team Xander is a Team Wendell fan?
I would assume Xander's a Team Wendell fan. Yeah, why wouldn't he be?
I don't know.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I like Xander. Another question for you, Jack. Because you know Xander very well, is there a Survivor from the past that kind of reminds you of Xander?
Yeah, I think Xander is he comes across as that, surfer bro, maybe a little bit naive. I think it is people's perception of him, but he's actually a super smart guy. Obviously, our school is a very solid school. He's studying like business and computer science. On the show, they say he's an app developer. The kid's great with computer programming, which is something I never have any idea about. So he's a very smart person, and he's also very caring and loving to all different types of people. So I think a lot of people perceive him as, that athletic, straight white male who might be kind of douchey, but in reality, I think he's got so many layers to him. So to compare him to a player, I wouldn't compare him to that classic like Joe or Ozzy. I think he's a little bit different than that, but I think he does give kind of like a Devin or a Jay or even a Fabio type of vibe. But I definitely think he's smarter than he lets on.
That's dangerous in Survivor. He looks like, you look at him, you think of that surfer, bro. But University of Chicago is no slouch of a school. So yeah, you guys, he's something. He's different, and that helps in Survivor if you look one way, but you could play a whole different way.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. How did you look and play? How did you look and play, Brice?
I like how I play. Okay. What's been going on with you and DC? We back from the Brice and Wynn Presents the District. And when I say it was on go, it was on
go, bro. It was on go. My demeanor right now is a little different because I just had a basketball tournament today. I played 6 games.
Was Jack refereeing?
Jack was refereeing. Jack
Wendell
was out there talking about.
He was scoring buckets.
Not the whistle. Oh no.
Jack was out there throwing technical fouls out there. He threw my buddy out of the game, actually. He threw Skase out of the game.
We're calling everything.
Yeah. So I had my tournament today. We got to the championships and lost in the championship.
Oh no, not winners at war. Part 2.
Yeah. That's how it felt. That's how it felt. But I'm still on this high off of our, Wednesday, our Brice and Wen present the district. We killed it. There were 300 amazing in attendance. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
We brought the queen out, like the queen Sari, and y'all know how much I love Sari. And I was trying not to cut up. I was trying my hardest not to cut up. I was like, Brice, don't twerk on Sari. Don't twerk on Sari. And what I end up doing, twerking on Sari. Okay. It was really a great time. And before we even get into the Survivor aspect of it, I wanted to just point out some of the things that I feel like Wendell and I discovered this week. And we don't have to go into great detail, but I really think that there is importance in trusting your instinct and going with your gut feeling. Because at times you might walk into a situation and you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't feel 1,000% right. And your gut is telling you that. And sometimes you continue with the situations. And so I just think that it's important that if you don't feel right, pull an audible. Okay. Pull an audible.
Yeah. I'm going to have to piggyback on that because I do want to thank all of everyone that came, because in the 9th hour, we had to switch the venue. We weren't getting the best vibe from the previous venue. And it took a lot for us to say, you know what, after our walkthrough, for us to just switch it. And thankfully, everybody just, we sent out the right emails, we gave the right notice, and everyone came to the next venue. And it was, in trusting our gut, it was the right venue. Like the ownership there, the food there. They had a special Survivor menu that we didn't even ask for. The venue we moved to, I got to shout them out, Proper 21 on K Street. We get in there, we go a few hours early to set up usually. And as soon as we get there, the owner's there. He shows us the special menu. And we're just like, bro, this is it. This works. This is what we needed. He played I'm a Survivor while we were setting up. Brice was acting a fool, and it just felt right. So to echo Brice, if you trust your gut, sometimes you got to take that leap of faith. It was right for us, and I'm going to continue to trust my gut going forward.
Absolutely. And a huge shout out to all of the RHAP family that came through. Matt Scott, Maury, Isaiah, Josh Reed was in the building. We greatly appreciate you guys and all of the amazing people that came up dressed up. It was so much fun. I always feel like at our events, I try my best to say hi and to just speak to everyone. And so I am excited that if you were unable to make Brice and Wynn Presents the District, Well, you got another opportunity because Brice and Wynn Presents Philadelphia is giving very much homecoming November 17th at 312 Lounge in Philadelphia. We will be there with some special guests. Tickets are available on both Brice and Wendell's Instagram. Just click the link in our bios on Twitter and get you a ticket.
Get you a ticket. And we just also want to thank our reality family for coming out and showing out. Sari came from North Jersey. We wanted to keep it a secret. You know, we kept on saying we have special guests, but there's one special guest.
Special.
And we didn't want to release it, and we just kept it quiet. And when she walked in the building, the roof blew off the building. But also, I'd be remiss if we didn't say big thank you to Brendan from Ghost Island.
His son Will came from school and went back to school
he drove all the way up. Yeah, he drove all the way up from Richmond. Who else came?
Ovi from Big Brother was in the building.
Jatia, our girl, came
Hart
through.
Taylor.
Yes, so
it was a star-studded event, and we just want to say thank you to everybody. But all right, enough about what Jack been doing up in the dorm room that don't really look clean, but look clean, and enough about Wendell taking another L. We used to that.
Yo, Brice.
You
got a yellow card. Got a yellow card.
Oh. Now, real quick before we go into it, Jack, what's the move for a flagrant foul?
I mean, you do a little tech. Is that a technical
you
one?
Could tee him
flagrant
up.
one.
Tee Brice
you
up.
tee him up. Brice.
Technical
foul, Brice.
So why Wendell do it all cool though? Wait, is it like a or
it's like a tee, so you can just be like,
wait.
Do that's the tee, Brice.
So we start off at the Ua tribe, and it is right after they vote out Jeannie. Ricard and Shan are laying there, and they're kind of Ricard wants to bring up the fact that 5 minutes before tribal, that's when Shan brought up the extra vote to him, and they had that kind of confrontation. We weren't really sure as viewers if that happened like a little earlier, if they had time to get on the same page, but now we learn that happened 5 minutes before tribal. And so, yeah, they really went into tribal with some kind of tension in the air, and you could still feel the tension when they're laying together talking about that.
1,000%. And I felt like last episode I was a little bit on Shan's side, like yeah, like, you know, I get it. But after this episode, I'm kind of sort of like, I feel like I ain't mad at Ricard. You know, he lays out his point so well. I mean, it's a hard thing because I understand from Shan's point, like if I ask for it back and you're my closest ally, give it back and we good. But from Ricard's standpoint, and you know me, I'm playing Survivor a game of one. So from his standpoint, it's like, why are you making a thing a thing? So I don't know. What do you think, Jack? What would you have done in that situation?
It's such a tough situation, and this is like in Survivor history, the first tribe of two that really has such like blatant cracks, right? Like you look at Malcolm and Denise, they were thick as thieves. Even back in Guatemala, like Steph and Bobby John, like pretty neutral relationship. But Ricard and Shan are just such cutthroat players that now that it's just down to them, and you throw Jeannie in the mix, like they just can't trust each other. I do agree. I think Ricard has been an evil mastermind so far in this game, maybe even more so than Shan. Just the way that Ricard set up, you know, the broccoli line, like lied to Jeannie about testing out the idol line. I think Ricard's really been crushing it, but it is tough because when you know Shan is someone who's so cutthroat and just slit JD's throat, how can you really trust anything she's saying? So you want to keep that ammunition, but obviously it's also tough because by saying, no, I'm not going to give this back to you yet, that kind of just fuels the fire and fuels the rivalry that you have. So it's just a weird position, but I think it was pretty good for both of them that they were able to just like sort of smooth things over, at least to get themselves to the fake merge and then go from there, because coming from a tribe of two, it's not likely that there'll be big targets.
He literally just saw the play she tried to move on him on JD, and he kind of called her out for it. And Ricard is that kind of player. Like, he's no slouch. And so I guess you see this dissension amongst the two of them in this episode. And my question is, are we getting set up for a confrontation? When might it be? Like, what's going to happen with these two? Can they make it to the end together? Or is it like, you know what, we are going to see them go head to head at some point?
I don't see them at the end together. I don't know whether they'll be the ones to take each other out, but I just think they're too. What we saw in when them being the last two on their Ua tribe pre-merge, that sort of dynamic and intensity and tension is not gonna sustain itself throughout the end game.
Yeah, I agree. Whoever goes out, the other person is the fault of them. I'm trying to say, like, whoever goes out, the other person had a helping hand in that. There's just no way out of that.
That's what you see happening. Okay. And one of them is in a more powerful position because ultimately the next day Shan asks Ricard again for the advantage and he gives it to her. Awkward. And he gives it to her, but they just, it doesn't, you feel this air that they're not on the same page. And
yeah. I people did question that move on Ricard's behalf, but I do think you're going in the merge. There's been 0 swaps. This is literally the one person in the game that Ricard has like met before. So you don't want to go in on bad terms with them. So if you need to give away that extra vote, even though the whole way that they went about it was really awkward and not the best for either of them,
messy.
I think just giving that extra vote back, kind of wiping the slate clean and going into the merge, at least on neutral terms, is very important because you don't want to be on bad terms with the one person in the game that you know.
Right. But see, this is my point. Like, I think that great, he gave it back, but you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. The crack has been split at this point. So even him giving it back does not solidify them. So I almost feel like Spicy Brice or Spicy Ricard should have just kept it. And at least going into the merge, you know where you stand.
Brice, you keep that thing going into the merge. You know you're a target.
Okay, all right. Well, that's why I make the merge. Okay, that's.
Although I will say this is something I thought about, and this kind of goes back to the Genie vote. I almost think Ricard had an opportunity to pull off a huge move against Shan. I don't know if it would have been best for his game, but I was thinking if I was in Ricard's shoes, I think I might have done the following. I would have said, "Hey, Shan, like we obviously have some tension. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use my vote and your extra vote and just put them on Genie, make sure Genie goes home. That way Shan has no choice but to vote with me to vote Genie. But I'd actually put those 2 votes onto Shan and get rid of Shan because if Shan wants to pull a fast one on you, I think she would take Ricard saying that he's going to put those votes on Genie like as face value. She might play her idol on Genie just to get Ricard out. I don't think she would ever expect Ricard to put both votes on her. Now, that would be effectively voting out your closest ally in the game, but then you don't have to deal with Shan and all of her advantages. You don't have to deal with, I guess, kind of her desire to have so much power in the game. Now you're going into the merge with Genie, who you weren't on the best terms with, but Genie seems like someone who's super agreeable in the game. And if you make that move to save her, I feel like she'll be on your side going into the merge. Now, I don't know if that's the best move, but that's something I thought about. That would be a crazy move and potentially work better for Ricard's game.
That'll be a big move. Now, what would be the benefit of that as opposed to just putting them on Shan without telling her that you're going to use the 2 votes?
I think the benefit of that is that I guess that's fair.
Because like you could just blindside her with those 2 votes feasibly, right?
Yeah, but I think if you do that, I think by telling her that you're going to use them on Genie, I think forces her to vote with you. Whereas if you don't say anything, there's a chance that she and Genie put their votes on you. I also think by telling her that, which is kind of like an unpleasant truth, I think she's more likely to trust that that's what you're actually going to do. Whereas if you don't say anything and you're just like, oh yeah, Shan, I'm totally just voting Genie, like I'm voting Genie, whatever, she might get sus and play her idol or something. But I agree, if you feel like the situation's right, you could just throw those 2 votes on Shan.
I just think there's something to telling her that you're about to burn her extra vote. Like, I feel like she might. But
how does she respond to that? Like,
well, if
you have 2 of the 4 votes, how does Shan counterplay that is the thing. The only thing I can think of is that she'd play her idols on Genie.
Or she thinks like, all right, Genie, I don't know. Maybe, but yeah, that would have been an awesome move if he would have put 2 on Shan and voted.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the best move, but it would have been a big move. Yeah.
Right.
But it seems like as much, and I was gonna point this out, like in preparing to discuss this episode, I do love the fact that every single tribe has so many cracks within it, whether it's a tribe of 2 or a tribe of 6. But with Shan and Ricard, I do think going in the merge that they're on fine enough terms. And going back to what Wendell was saying, I think right now they're kind of just treating the game as independent players. I don't think they're targeting each other, but I don't think that they're gonna like actively protect each other if the time comes.
Right.
But that's better than maybe the relationship of like Liana is targeting Xander or Sydney is targeting Nasir. Like to have someone actively from your own tribe targeting you is definitely worse than just like not working with them completely.
Right. So we get to the merge that isn't the merge, but you have merged, but you got to play to merge, and then somebody is merged, and then 2 people got to go. Somebody break that down for me because I was a little confused.
Okay, yeah, we jump right to this this new challenge, the merge thing, and basically what you have is the newly merged group is going to draw for teams, and 2 of the people are going to draw I think he said a green or a gray rock. Those 2 people sit out. The other 2 tribes compete, and the winner of that gets the merge feast, gets a merge buff, and is immune in the next immunity challenge, right?
Yeah.
And then or immune in tribal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Immune in tribal.
And then the losers have to go to tribal. And so that's what happened. And the teams were Xander, Heather, Liana, Tiffany, and Shan against Danny, Ricard, Deshaun, Evie, and Sydney. And
extremely unfair teams.
Crazy.
And it seems like Xander continually is on this tribe with all women. And he continues to kill it at each challenge, whether he wins or not. Like, to see the beast and Xander kill it, I'm a Xander fan. So listen, I'm going to shout out Zaddy Zan every chance I get.
Relax,
same here.
Brice.
I mean, no, he absolutely crushed it. That challenge was brutal. And just talking to Xander about it after he said it was even harder than it was made out to be on TV. He still has scars to this day from that. I honestly was a little nervous about the boulder because when they were getting up under that boulder,
If
I was
they
like,
rolls
back, you're getting crushed. But thankfully, nothing happened. But before the challenge even started, Xander was like, guess what my team was? I was like, I don't know, like Tiffany, Heather, Shan, and like Evie. He was like, basically, yeah, like it was horrible. And I don't know what to think about this whole challenge. Like, I don't necessarily mind the twist, but jumping ahead a little bit, and we'll obviously talk about this later, the whole twist with Erica getting to reverse this situation, and I think her decision is so obvious that she should reverse it, that for the quality of the episode and the twist, I just think it's so pointless. Like, the people that win are basically guaranteed to actually be the losers. Like, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I like the twist just for an underdog person, but let's stay in order so that we could get together.
Yeah.
One, when they went through the Boulder challenge and they had to figure out the merge feast, I thought of you, Jack. I was like, oh, baby boy is tight with the slide puzzles. Do you think that you would have been able to get that quickly?
I mean, I think that puzzle, obviously there was a sliding component. I think it was more so a word puzzle, right? You have to solve the word.
Out of the stuck.
I think if I knew the word, it wasn't too bad for a word puzzle, all things considered, because sometimes it's like, oh, you got to dig deep to make it to this merge feast with only 12 of you left. And you're like, what's going on? I don't know. I think that puzzle I probably could have figured out. It seems pretty logical. I thought the challenge was great overall. I mean, just as a challenge.
I paused it, and the only word that I could see was free. And I know if I was out there, I would have been like, I would have not been able to see anything else but
both the words were 5 letters though, Brice.
It's Brice Isaiah. Yeah, they had that word puzzle was on Ghost Island. It wasn't that word, but that type of a word puzzle. I think it's spelled Ghost Island or something like that. Yeah. I didn't do it, but yeah, that after going through a challenge, like you said, Xander was all beat up and bruised. We see it in the episode. And for anybody to go through all of that and then have to solve a word puzzle, it ain't easy. Yeah. But if I was going to put my money on either tribe, I would know that the tribe with Danny, Ricard, Deshaun, Evie, and Sydney would get to the puzzle first,
Much
which
faster.
they did.
Yeah.
And they it was Ricard and I believe Danny that just killed the puzzle.
Ricard killed the puzzle. I mean, it seemed like Yellow did figure out the word pretty fast once they got there, but definitely struggled a little bit with moving the pieces around. And I will say, you're talking about how Xander's crushing these challenges, which he fully is. It's almost so much worse. Obviously, it sucks to be on a team that's a little bit weaker, but on top of that, it exposes how strong Xander is to the rest of the players because he's carrying so many challenges and kind of all of the responsibility to carry the challenges on him, so people can look at him and be like, oh, he's a beast. Whereas if you're like a Danny and you're on a tribe with Nasir and Deshaun and all the other players, and Sydney and Evie, who are pretty strong challenge players, obviously Danny's a beast, but he doesn't look so responsible for the success of the tribe. And then Xander also is on the puzzle too, so it's like, okay, not only is he literally carrying his tribe through this challenge, he's also one of the smarter like puzzle solvers.
And that's evidenced by the fact that these fools, the Levu tried to throw challenges and they couldn't even, because they didn't tell everybody. So it's clear that even if, two of your big players are slacking, this tribe is so big and strong, they can run through any tribe. Yeah. And, despite the shuffle, they still got some big dogs. And again, those big dogs can kind of like, I guess, blend in a little more over there.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to know.
I was just going to say, don't forget Liana. She also looked pretty strong.
She's a beast.
In that
She's
challenge.
A beast.
Yeah.
No, she absolutely killed it. I am curious to know what you guys' thoughts of. I haven't really necessarily been following the girls necessarily getting rid of the guys, but Deshaun and Danny are definitely
Danny's on it.
Danny is very aware of the girls taking the lead, and he wants it to be a man strong. And I'm not mad at it in the sense, for me, it might protect Xander. But again, I've been saying this on the podcast since episode 2. Why are they so scared of Erica? I mean, are they going back and can they go to the future and see that she got this time? Because I'm just so confused at the fact that they won't even give Erica a try. And I have to say, when Erica got sent over to that island, y'all know me, I'm emotional. I felt my sis's pain. I felt her, if I were on that tribe, I would expect me to be going to that island. And when she said, I'm used to not being picked, I'm used to, I knew when I was standing next to Nasir that it was going to be me. That resonated with me a lot.
Here's the thing though, and I totally agree with what you're saying. I think the decision in this episode was based on popularity. I do think they picked Nasir over Erica because they liked him more. But if I was in their shoes, to me, it's like I'm sending someone to an island for 2 days. There's going to be some sort of advantage there. I almost have to trust that person to send them over. So it's like, that seems like a dynamic they didn't really consider. I don't know how that necessarily would factor into my decision or your guys' decision, but I definitely feel you that it's tough for her. And I do think part of the reason that they might be a little wary of her, I think we saw a couple episodes ago, is that she's a very quiet player, yet she's shown a few times in her conversations with Deshaun, for example, that she is constantly thinking about the game. And I think quiet players who are really shrewd and clever and smart are a pretty dangerous factor in the game. But I don't know. I just think if you're sending someone away right at the merge, they're going to have an opportunity for an advantage, especially in a season like this where the advantage has been so... everyone knows there's crazy advantages this season. I feel like at this point, that I feel like you'd almost want to send someone you trust. But I don't know if you guys were in the shoes of, say, a Danny or a Deshaun, and it's 2 of your former tribe members, Erica and Nasir. Which one would you guys probably send, and what would your logic be?
Well, there's so much to it because, like you said, in the game of Survivor, you're going to believe that they're going out there to get something. But also you're under the impression that the person that you send is going to be, they're not going to have immunity in this upcoming tribal council. So if you want to curry favor with an Erica, someone that you guys are very shaky about, you save her. She's immune. You send over a Nasir. He's not immune, but that's your guy. So now it's like you have this group of people that you're about to go to the feast with, plus Nasir and whatever cells you have. Y'all as a huge group can then work on whoever you want.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we see Deshaun early in the episode saying like the Luvu 6 is not going to last, but he does want to keep them together for one vote. So isolating the person on your tribe that was probably in the worst position already, like you said, it does not bode well for I see very few. Say this merge was a normal merge and they were going to a tribal with all 12 people. I do not see any way that the Luvu 6 themselves are staying like a full strong 6.
Right. But Wendell, you say Nasir is your guy, but your guy multiple occasions has tried to get you out, has like thrown you under the bus. Like I just, but this is the game of Survivor. You never know what bonds you and what like things you have to outweigh or outlook to secure the trust of someone.
Yeah, but if we rewind a little bit, there was a time on the Luvu tribe when Nasir was like, this is earlier in the episode. Nasir's like, let's lock it in. This is the final 6. Let's do it. And everyone else knew, again, like Deshaun was like, nah, there are cracks all over this tribe in his confessional. But Nasir keeps on, preaching that. And although he has snitched on people in the past and whatnot, I think Nasir's
pretty loyal. I think he's loyal.
I would agree.
We get to the merge feast and we have Evie, Danny, Nasir, Ricard, Deshaun, and Sydney grubbing. They're feeling good. They're happy. They talk about how they really haven't been eating for days.
That's now this is where I question things at. For somebody that has played Survivor 11 days, the first challenge we played, I almost passed out. I'm confused as to how they are giving them no rice.
Yeah, it's crazy because even the losing group gets some rice and they're pumped up.
I
just am like, oh Jesus.
They said that some of them said they haven't eaten in a few days. Like, yo, you better go swim in that coral reef and spearfish some fish.
Yeah, I don't know how that wouldn't work for me. I might.
Do you guys remember when Xander's tribe a couple episodes ago won fruit at an immunity challenge? Apparently, Jeff offered them the opportunity to swap it for fishing gear, and all of the girls said no. And Xander was like super pissed. But to me, you got to have something sustainable food source out there. Obviously, I haven't been out there, but I can't imagine how hard it would be without even having rice. Like I don't know what you're eating. Coconuts.
And you got to be careful with them because they could dehydrate you and give you diarrhea.
Yeah.
The coconut water.
Yeah, there are some things out there, like there's the breadfruit on Ghost Island. We thought we got lucky. We found papaya trees, but they were unripened. So you can't eat an unripened. It's gross. But yeah, there's the breadfruit out there. If you can get those down, I'm sure Nasir, I think we saw Nasir throw stuff up to get it down. But yeah, so at the feast, they're happy. They're grubbing. They say they feel bad for Erica. That's when we get this confessional with Danny saying that like a woman has to go home. And it should be Erica.
If I'm not mistaken, Danny at one point says something sort of anti-woman within the game to a woman, right? Like he says like, oh, like we got to keep the guys around though. Did he do something like that?
I don't know what he said, but we've heard this kind of theme of Danny being scared of this women's alliance or the women taking out the guys. We've heard it multiple times, so something will become of this.
Now, do you think it's anti-women, or do you think he is really seeing guy after guy after guy, and he's like, I have to stop this trend. I need to.
I don't mean anti-woman as in he's like, oh, I hate women. I just mean like he's like, oh, we got to get the women out. Although at this point there's 12 people, it's 5 guys, 7 girls, right? So it's not horribly imbalanced. But I don't think he's necessarily wrong with that observation.
Not horribly imbalanced, but one more guy, and it's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And especially going in the merge, a lot of times the big guys are the threats. So like Danny, Nasir, Xander, I feel like naturally should be worried regardless of the gender ratio.
But you got somebody like Tiffany out there who look like she changed her vote. Like, so you might be good.
Might be good. So we jump over to Exile, the Exile Beach.
Okay, and I just gotta say, y'all know I hate Exile Island.
Why is that?
I've never been a fan of Exile Island. I've never been a fan of Redemption Island. What was the island they was sending y'all on? Auto
Edge
Center?
of Extinction.
Edge of Extinction.
That got you more Underwood though.
I mean, it did. I mean, but but for me personally, I just always hated Exile Island.
Okay, well, Erica, at first she didn't like it so much either, right? She gets out there, she gets a little bit of rice. She opens this big can thinking it might be something special. It's water. She gets some water. She flashes back to Canada and basically says that her family, they came from the Philippines. She didn't have the easiest life, but she thinks that all the things that her family has done for her, it kind of made her a stronger person. It made her who she is and allowed her to, get out there and really work hard and make her way. She made fire out there.
Yeah, that was impressive that she got the fire going. Very important too, obviously. Going there 2 days without a fire would be miserable.
It would. Then we have the losers from the challenge going back to what I like to call Mergatory Beach. We have Xander, Shan, Heather, Leanna, and Tiffany going back to that beach. And that's when Shan decides to ask Liana.
I was about to say, yeah.
I think it was just a slip by Shan. Shan's too tight. She's too sharp to do this.
Yeah.
But she's been starving. She just lost the challenge. She just lost her comrade Ricard to the other side, I guess, if you will. And she comes back and she asks Liana, like, hey, did you get that advantage right in front of Tiffany?
So it was, I expect a lot more from Shan. I like you said, the situation is tough. Like obviously you're going to have some mental slips, but Shan is such a good player that it's like, how do you do that? I don't know.
Yeah. So she slipped up with that one. What do you think about that, Brice?
I mean, I don't know. It's like, is this a JD Messi moment? I don't know. However, I also maybe feel like Leanna told Shan that one of her closest allies was Tiffany. So I'm thinking that Shan probably thought it was a safe space in that moment. But I think Leanna did a good job in the moment because for me, I would have been like, I literally would have
red light, green light.
I would have pretended like I was on FaceTime and I would have been like,
now is not the time. Yeah. So at that point, Liana goes on a walk with Shan. She tells Shan exactly what the advantage is. And Shan's like, we need to lock in the alliance. And then Tiff and Liana go on their little walk down to the water where they're rinsing shells, or they're doing something down there.
And Tiffany said, what did it say? Okay, mind you, I ain't even mad at Tiffany.
Yeah. Because they've been about, keeping stuff and telling each other stuff, and they're locked in, and the girls are tight, and Xander's the one on the outs.
My one thing is hot. Like I do feel like Tiffany feels betrayed by Liana. However, we as fans, what I see is kind of sort of like Liana not like appeasing Tiffany, but like making Tiffany like comfortable. So in my mind, I'm like, Liana is absolutely right to have as many tentacles as she can out there. But I think it's interesting. And I also, the first thing that in my mind, I know Liana wants to get Xander's vote out. I don't know why she want to come from my zaddy Xan, but I also was like, if Shan wanted to get Ricard out, she could barter her trust back with him to be like, you know what? I thought about everything that we did. I want to give you the 2 votes back just because I want to show you that we are on good, whatever. And then, boom, she could tell Liana. Liana could come in there, steal his extra 2 votes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was just saying, like, that could be an interesting. Here he go to shoot it down. Here he go. Come on.
Okay. Then you burn. Then you're burning Liana's
advantage.
Steal her advantage just to get Ricard out, when I think there might be other ways to get him out, right? Or you're getting that extra. Okay, so essentially what you're doing is you're burning Liana's advantage to give Liana an extra vote, right? As opposed to having her use her advantage to steal something even more powerful like an idol.
Okay, I just was trying. Okay,
it's not a bad idea though in a situation where getting Ricard to trust your group is like the most important thing in the vote, right? Because they could, if they wanted Ricard out straight up, they could just like steal Xander's extra vote and vote him out. But obviously, say Ricard comes across an idol or something, and you need to lull him into some trust. That's when you can do something like that. I just think generally though, these starting tribes need to stop cannibalizing each other. Like Liana and Tiff made up, it seemed like, after Liana explained her advantage, but then Liana's still like, all right, let's use it to get Xander out, and Tiff's like, chill out, Liana. Like, also, I think the contrast between the way Tiffany handled Liana not telling her about her advantage versus Xander not telling her about her advantage was pretty hilarious. Like, Liana explains the advantage, and Tiff's like, all right. And then Xander explains an advantage that everybody already knew about. Like, they had literally told Tiffany about it, and she just didn't understand it. And then she's in the back, like, rolling her eyes. She's like, I don't trust Xander for shit. It's just a funny, but now I'm happy to see Tiff swinging over to Team Xander. She might have ordered a Zaddy calendar, and now she's excited about working with Xander. I don't know.
What I will say about that is when Xander was telling her and she was rolling her eyes, you have that moment. Then you have this moment by the beach where Liana's kind of like coming clean or whatever you want to call it. And they're both, to me, they're both acting, because then you get these 2 confessionals. You get the one where Liana says Tiff is too charismatic and too friendly and she's a threat. Then you get Tiff saying that she doesn't necessarily like Liana going at Xander or having this advantage. So now you have some tension between them. Yeah. So Brice, what you got?
I agree. I feel like it's the cracks. They are cracking. It's cracking.
I don't know. Like, I understand that especially because you didn't swap, you've spent so much time with these people that some cracks might form, but also that probably serves to build more trust because you spent your whole time with them. If I'm someone on one of these minority tribes like Uwa or Yasa, and I see the cracks on the blue tribe, I think I'm going to put my differences aside for a few votes, because none of the differences are necessarily like personal. You know, no one's like, I truly hate blank because they're just a bad person. It's just like, no, so-and-so has an advantage, we need to get them out. If someone has an advantage, leave them in the game, make that public information, and make them a target that is in front of you. You don't have to target them, because 12 people left in the game is still a lot of people, right?
Yeah. I just don't think that it has gotten that like cutthroat. It's still that like nice, friendly-esque
on the surface.
I think it's,
yeah.
But I think I think the pot is cooking. The pot is cooking. The pot is cooking. It's cooking. Said the pot is cooking. It's cooking. Okay.
Yeah.
So
we have the mergers coming back to camp after the merge feasters coming back to camp after they had this wonderful meal. It's all hugs. You see Nasir telling Xander that hey, you're doing a really great job, and I got your back, bro. And that could be a pretty cool.
This is the alliance I'm looking for. Xander supremacy. Let's go.
Oh. Xander supremacy.
Yeah. I mean, those are like kind of the 2 fan favorites right now. I feel like I'd love to see them work together. I also love it just because I think Nasir really is kind of a straightforward guy. I do think he has some chops. If it comes down to it, I think he'd be willing to cut somebody like a Xander. But I think if you're Xander, that you look at Nasir as someone you could really rock deep in the game with and kind of have him in your pocket a little bit. Someone who could be a target in front of you if you're Xander, just because Nasir is such a beast.
Yeah. So we're hoping to see that relationship blossom out there and to see them work hard together and shake things up.
Yeah.
We also get Danny telling Nasir and Xander, hey, let's keep it easy. When Erica gets back, he's still on this, we're going to vote out a woman and it's going to be Erica thing. You get Sid, Evie, and Tiffany walking off, saying that Erica should go also. I think that was Sydney saying that. And then you get Shan, Liana, Deshawn, and Danny saying they should have an alliance but want to keep it on the low. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it, okay? We seen the cookout on the big of the brother.
It's the camp out.
Okay, and we are potentially seeing a camp out. And again, I harp on things like this because I've never seen a majority Black alliance possibly happen in Survivor. And I know I've been seeing the critics, all the things that they've been saying on the Twitter, on the Reddit, all that stuff. But my thing is, but for the 41 seasons, that has always been the majority of white alliances. Why? Like, that's never been an issue. So the fact that this opportunity is coming, and for somebody that loves the game like myself, and to honestly like never really conceptualize what it actually could look like, is it's just crazy. And to know that I had a small part in this, like, changing the landscape so that there are plenty of people of color out there looking at this like, oh my God, this is amazing. We've never seen something like this. It's just so powerful, so great, so needed. I do think that the camp, I think the camp out is great, and I think the cookout is great. I do think the difference in a Survivor as to a Big Brother, I don't know how, like, just with the strategy, the games, the idols, I think that it is, I'm talking just like if they were to be a dominating alliance, I do wonder how they will be able to maintain it, just because I feel like Survivor and Big Brother is a little different.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think in Survivor, they're coming from all these different tribes where they have pre-existing relationships that are going to continue to manifest themselves throughout the rest of the game. That's going to make things a little bit more complicated. Whereas Big Brother, from week one, you make that alliance, it's pretty easy to stick to that. Whereas now, like I said, over in Survivor, there's a bunch of other relationships. And I think just the cutthroat nature of the game is going to make it harder. Plus, you add in idols, advantages, everything. But it's great to see a group come together like that. And I think the thing that both the cookout and the camp out have done quite well. And, obviously there's people complaining about stuff online like, oh, it's racist, etc. I think if you're coming together with a group saying like, hey, we're similar, let's work together, I think that's a very positive approach. Now, if you're coming together and say like, hey, we don't like these other people, let's get them out, that's where there's a problem. But I don't think the cookout or the camp out have come anywhere near doing that. So I think right now it's positive. And then, yeah, of course, just the dynamic is so much more complex here in Survivor, where it's not going to be as easy to run the game as it was in Big Brother. So I think it's not going to be as huge of a factor as it was in Big Brother. So it's just good to have it going on the side and see where it goes.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff online. I have people that are still commenting on my post, and I just stopped responding. But we heard Deshawn say that he didn't think he was going to play with a lot of Black people. Mm-hmm. And he gets out there, and this cast is a rainbow of a cast, and there are multiple Black people, two of whom were already voted out, but fortunately post-merge, there are 12 people and 4 Black people remaining. So 4 out of 12 isn't the majority, first of all, but you have these 4 people with that commonality. And he said, as long as it's not one of us. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean I'm targeting a particular group. That means, hey, let's look out for each other.
Let's look out for each other.
We saw us getting picked off season after season early in the game on numerous casts for numerous shows. Hey, let's do something about it. Let's work together. And in my opinion, it's a beautiful thing. Like I said, there are 4 of them out of 12 people on the island. There's a lot of eyes on them, but earlier I said, you see Sid, Evie, and Tiffany walk off to talk about who should go. those are, if I'm not mistaken, 3 white women walking off. We've seen this numerous times, and you never say, "Oh, that's 3 white this, that's 3."
Yeah.
No, you don't say that. Because these people of color are sitting together on the beach. Now everyone is focused on, no. Like let them play their game and let them look out for each other in a game that really hasn't looked out for them.
Exactly. I mean, it's like if I end up out on the island and there's 3 other people that go to my school, that go to my college, you're obviously gonna be like, yo, let's keep an eye out for each other. So I think what they're doing is obviously it's a good thing, and I do think for those concerned about another cookout sort of situation where they just dominate the game, I think this alliance has so many strong players in it that as the game progresses, I mean, I don't see Deshaun and Shan wanting to sit next to each other. So there's going to be some throat cutting going on. So just to have this alliance established, and it's a third of the group, it's not going to be anything crazy, but it's going to be good for them to have an eye out for each other.
I'll say I hope to see them in the Final Four, but I can't see it, man. Just like I couldn't see Shannon Ricard in the final 2. This is 4 powerhouse people. Like I want to see them go to the end together because of the optics and the beautiful representation that it would be, and the more people that would see that and want to play and dream big and dream about getting on this show.
The 3Ds.
The 3Ds. But again, these are some heavy hitters.
Okay. Can we just take a time to appreciate during the challenge after the boulder, they had to turn to the human stair ladder. Then they had to scale the wall. Baby, Danny said, let me take 2 steps back. And it just looked like he just was like, now for me, I was like, okay, Danny. Okay. But also I was thinking, like, if I was out there, I'm like, he gotta go. Like, I mean, like, is it going to be a when we get to the end, is he going to be like a challenge beast? But I don't know. But that's the thing I was thinking. Then the other thing that I came to my mind was at the merge feast. Ain't nobody looking for an idol? Don't they normally have idols?
They probably had their eyes open.
Yeah. You are taking this somewhere I wanted to end up in this conversation, though, Brice, about, I guess, people's chances of winning. You're talking about Danny, who I don't think he has a great shot of winning because he is such a threat, and I don't know if his social and strategic game is enough to cover it. But I just wanted to talk about with you guys, who are some people you really have your eyes on as a potential winner? I'll kick it off. I think Deshaun right now is my guy. I think he's got the complete package. He has allies that are good shields for him, like a Danny. He obviously has this all-black alliance going on that'll be of good help. And just looking at Luvu, who obviously never went to tribal, he for me was kind of always the figurehead of that tribe. He was sort of the one who always had his hand in all the different pots that knew exactly what was going on. And I think he's set up super well in this merge to be in that same situation.
If you talk Edgic or any of that stuff, is he looking good, or do you know any? I don't
pay attention to a whole lot of Edgic. I think he's looking fine. I mean, to me, like I said, he came across to me as the main character on that Luvu tribe, or or at least the best player. Obviously, it's a little harder to tell when they didn't go to a single tribal council because they didn't do a whole lot of blatant strategizing or scheming. So I don't know how that would translate Edgic wise, but just from a skill standpoint, I do see Deshaun as a really good contender. I don't see a lot of other Luvu players as super strong contenders, I'd be honest with you. And then of course Shan and Ricard have both been crushing it, but I think they're both just a little bit too obviously strong players, if that makes sense. And then over on the yellow tribe, I mean, I think Evie's playing really well. I think Xander's playing well, but he's just so constantly been an underdog that if he somehow pulls out a win, it would be pretty insane.
Yeah. He reminds me of Michael Yerger from our season, just somebody that kept on getting the crap beat out of him like every challenge after challenge, and just kept coming back and like just kept his head up, willing to compete, ready to compete again. And he's still in it. And in our season, it took us a lot to get Yerger out, and Xander it's going to take a lot to get him out, especially with all he has in his pocket.
Exactly. Now, obviously Liana knows about those and she has her advantage, but I have seen people talking about, hey, maybe Liana decides to use that advantage on someone like Nasir. Because, of course, right now, Liana is kind of anti-Xander, but we've also seen her talking in confessional, like, it's not about who you trust, it's about who trusts you. And it seems like she does realize that Xander doesn't view her in a negative light at this point in the game. It seems like Xander is pretty keen on keeping the Yellow Tribe together, so maybe the Yellow Tribe can set aside their differences, and Liana will hopefully spare Xander and let him keep it as advantages. So obviously Xander with an extra vote, an idol, and just a really good, well-rounded challenge strength. I'm hoping he can make it deep in the game. But again, from a more meta standpoint as well, season 41, it's kind of a new era of Survivor and CB and just the whole diversity push and everything. I do think it's tough for a straight white man to be the winner of this season, and we've seen players kind of have that perspective on Xander a little bit. So I think he's been playing super well, but I just don't know if he's going to be able to make it all the way there and win over the cast as to why he'd be deserving to win. But I think he's playing strong. I'm obviously rooting for him. But right now, Deshaun for me is the guy.
Is there any scenario where Xander sits at the end and he beats the two people he's sitting next to?
I think if it's like, yeah, I fully think so. I mean, if it's like him, Tiffany, and Heather, I mean, now is that a trio he gets to the end with? I don't know. Maybe, I mean, right now he's kind of ally-less in a sense. Like, other than the guys coming to him, he doesn't really have anyone right now that wants to go deep with him. Is there a scenario where it could be a Xander, a Nasir, and like a Heather, maybe? And maybe Xander wins that. Although I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. It's
there's a lot of game left to be played.
Mm-hmm.
So it truly depends on how people play, and I could see, like, if Xander turned into a superstar going forward with all that he has, I think that these people will judge the person that sits at the end on their merits and how they play the game.
He's just got such a target, though. He's a beast, you know? Like, if I was out there, I'd say, because at first he did come across very strong in the first few episodes as someone who's like, oh, he's very honest with the whole tribe. He's kind of just like, he's kind of a Fabio where we could just trust him for his word. But now I think he's proving that he's got a little bit more up his sleeve. Combine that with his athleticism, I think it's going to be hard. But I also do think, just from edit wise and skill, I wouldn't predict Xander to go, imminently, because you look at the layout of the merge. He does, like we said, he doesn't have a lot of allies coming in, but I do think he'll be able to connect well with some of the other tribes. Some of the guys will be looking out for him. Hopefully, Erica, we haven't even gotten to talking about Erica's advantage yet, but hopefully that will keep him and the rest of that group safe for one round. But yeah, I just think right now, and I would love to hear if you had to pick one person, who would you pick? But yeah, for me, it's Deshaun. He hasn't had to put it. He has so many cards up his sleeve, I feel like, and he hasn't had to reveal any of them yet, right? He hasn't gone to tribal. He's got a large network of connections. But yeah, who would you guys predict right now?
I think about the past seasons, but again, like you said, this is a new season of Survivor, and the edit doesn't necessarily have to be similar to what we've seen in the past, where whoever gets a bunch of confessionals and narrates the season is going to get pretty far in the season. It could be something where, somebody who was just very likable and had the right connections is going to get to the end. I'd love to see Deshaun win. Mm-hmm. He seems like a great guy. He's very smart. The man is a med student. Like, I'd love to see that. Again, like you said, Shan, she gets a lot. She's very visible. She's like, I think narrator of the season.
She's had the most. I think someone says she's had the most confessionals through a pre-merge since Russell Hantz.
Is that a good comparison, though?
No, I'm not saying she's like Russell Hantz. I'm just saying screen time wise.
Yeah. But also, they've been to tribal. They've been to tribal 1,000 times.
Oh yeah, I know. I think Shan's been giving great content. I have no problem with the screen time she's gotten. I just think especially because they went to tribal so much, and she played so well in that pre-merge. I just think it's so hard to sustain that level throughout the rest of the merge, and we see her already slipping up a little bit.
And she's one of two of her original tribe going to a merge with hella numbers of other tribes. I'd love to see a Liana win.
I'd love to see a Ricard win, to be honest with you.
I like Ricard too.
I'm not mad at him at all. To see I love his villainistic look on things. I like that he is leaning into that. And sometimes the jury will respect your gameplay.
I think Ricard has been one of my favorite like villains to watch in recent memory. I think he's, like I said, I think he's an evil genius. I think some of the moves he's made have been so smart that like people might not have even thought of them in the first place, let alone execute them. But as a player, if I was in the game with Ricard, just the vibe I get through the screen, I don't know if that's someone I'd actually really want to work with. And I feel like a lot of people out there would probably relate to that. He sort of just has an air of like confidence and like a kind of a holier than thou vibe. Maybe I'm off with that, but he doesn't seem very approachable. Is just my thing.
I don't know. I sometimes feel like that's a stereotype that they use on the gay man. It's like, oh, you can't trust him. I wouldn't want to like. So I try to like look past that and like, yes, he's playing a devious game, but I feel like there have been people that like, I don't know. We are not seeing the whole edit, and I do feel like you can connect with him. I don't know. I just I don't choose to.
He's been playing great. Yeah. I'd love to see him win because the way he's been playing has been phenomenal. I'm just wondering like how likely it is. Yeah. But it's so like you guys said, there's so much game left though. It's hard to predict. But obviously there's some people that are early favorites and some people that are probably not going to take the crown.
Hear from like
Heather.
Who's the older lady on the other tribe? Heather, like right.
She has not been fuck it. Maybe Heather's going to win the season.
No, right.
Pencil that
in. You heard it first. Jack Atkins says Heather is going to win the season.
Yeah, it's a new era Survivor. Whoever gets the least screen time, it will be winning the season.
They're really getting us. So finally, in the last scene we see, Erica's on exile. Brice hates exile. Erica's on exile. Probst pulls up in his jet.
Oh.
In his boat, not his jet. See, I'm tired from basketball.
Got his sneakers wet.
Jumped right in the water, sits down with her, kind of takes her pulse, sees how she's doing. And he pulls out an hourglass. He says you can change his. Huh?
Go ahead.
He says you can change history by smashing this hourglass, and if you smash this hourglass, we will go back in time, and the winner of the immunity from the merge challenge will become the loser, and the loser will become the winner, and you, the person who had to be, I guess, the person that was sent over here who does not have immunity right now, you'll also get immunity if you smash the urn.
It's horrible. It's so bad. Like from a entertainment value, it was an okay couple of minutes, but if you look at it gameplay, it's horrible. Like it's such an obvious choice for Erica that it's like what the thing I've liked about the advantages this season is that they've pretty much all come with some sort of dilemma. Some of them have been too punishing for taking advantage. We see Xander, the whole pre-merge doesn't have a vote. I was thinking about, I see 4 reasons why Erica should change the history and 0 reasons why she shouldn't. 1, you're safe, duh. 2, you've missed out on 2 days of the merge where people have been plotting without you.
And they have been plotting on Yo.
They have been plotting. 3, you're aware of the fact that you're on the bottom of your old tribe. And then 4, from the preview, it appears that when Erica gets to the challenge, Jeff kind of lays out her dilemma. If Jeff's like, hey, Erica, you have the opportunity to save all of these people that are vulnerable. And she's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to join them and be vulnerable with you. If I was one of those vulnerable people, I'd be like, what the fuck? I'm going to vote you out. Like, why would you? So, and then can either of you think of a reason why she shouldn't? Okay. And before you say that, it's also like, it's so obvious that she should change the course of history. Once she does that, it's like, what was the point of the whole episode? Like, what was the point of winning the challenge? Now you're just like, you won the challenge fair and square, and then due to this twist that literally has no like drawbacks, you just like suddenly have to get a tribal. Like
I don't mind it. Again, me being a early boot, me being somebody that is consistently counted out, me that is an underdog, I love it. Like, you think you're safe and you think that you're about to tell me I'm going home. Guess what? The game has changed. I love it. And so say what y'all want, but listen, baby boy is going back in time.
But so you think Erica will use it, Brice?
I mean, I think this is what I would say. If she does not, she deserves to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course Erica's going to use it, but I'd say if there were a reason for her not to use it, it's because her whole previous tribe is about to feel the wrath of
and
that.
As they should.
But I almost think like at that point, if I'm Erica, I could be like, yo, like you guys have the numbers in this group. Like you guys aren't fucked unless you fuck each other over. Just vote together. Whereas she could be like, hey, if I went over to the losers with Heather, one of us might go home. So I know what you're saying, but like also if you already know you're on the bottom of your tribe, but I agree with you. You have to, when you're weighing out that situation, you have to weigh out all the pros and the cons. And I guess one of the cons is that you are like widening the gap more with the people that already don't like you very much. But I just think it's time for Erica, and I think she realizes it, that to pivot to some other people in this game.
For sure. I got a question. It looked like in the next time on Survivor, they were lined up for a challenge and she was standing there about to say it. So is there going to be some kind of a challenge for those people? Is there going to be, so there's going to be.
So how it's supposed, if time doesn't get reversed, the vulnerable players, which would include Erica, compete for individual immunity before going to tribal. And then I believe that everybody gets to vote at tribal, but only the vulnerable players can be voted out. Now, if she reverses history, the winning group, the group that feasted, will be doing the challenge for one individual immunity.
Now, I thought it would have been cool for this twist to happen where she's not announcing it there or something like that, where there is no challenge, where when they go to tribal, she announces it, which side is immune. Because then at tribal, now people are like,
no, but listen, all she got to do is say, I said rock, paper. I did rock or paper.
But then Wendell, so for the challenge, then I think that could work. And then you just have everybody compete in the immunity challenge. And maybe if you win and you were already safe, you have the option to give it away. And then if the fate is changed, then obviously you just hang on to it.
Yeah, I was just finding a cooler way to use this terrible advantage, actually.
Yeah.
But so we think so. Okay.
Although then those players wouldn't really have time to strategize. Like imagine you go to tribal and you're like, oh, I'm safe, and then all of a sudden it flips and you're like, what? Like
I like it. It's the game of Survivor.
I just hate seeing. It is the game of Survivor, but it's just like the more people can get screwed over, the less I like it. You know.
Well, I mean, I got screwed over, and I still like it. So I love it. I do.
So okay. So then we've looked at the past. Let's predict the future a little bit. So we have Erica. She's gonna use the advantage. And that means that Evie, Danny, Nasir, Ricard, Deshaun, Sydney will then be competing against each other. Evie, Danny, Nasir, Ricard, Deshaun, Sydney in individual immunity.
Then I think either Deshaun, Nasir, or Danny are going to win, and I think Evie might be in trouble.
Wait a minute. You don't think Sydney could win?
I mean,
whatever it is.
I think Sydney can win.
Maybe. Think it's the.
It looks like a endurance sort of thing, and
that is true. That is
if they're holding on a pole, if they're standing between something, if they're I don't count Sydney out either.
No, okay, you're right. I mean, mind you, she is a beast.
But with that being said, I do agree with you, Brice. I think there's what 4 original Luvu and then 1 Uwa, 1 Yasa. I do think, although if everybody is voting in the tribal,
but you already
maybe they go for a Luvu.
I mean,
Erica obviously already is sort of signaling that she's flipping, and then of course the Luvu in the losers group are are going to have to vote for each other potentially. So I could see a situation where it is like a Sydney or even a Danny. Actually, I could very well see going home.
There is a well, okay, there are 6 Luvu left, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's half the group.
Mm-hmm.
And if they just went based on Luvu, then they could target a Sydney, Ricard, or Evie. So like if
Sydney's on Luvu as well.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. So
Get him.
If excuse me, Brice.
Do you even know Survivor, Wendell? You would never win a season.
See, Brice brings his buddy on the pod because Brice can't compete with me. But anyway, so okay, if we have Danny, Nasir, Deshaun, and Sydney all Luvu, and they stick together, we have Ricard and Evie on the chopping block.
Oh wait, I forgot that Ricard is. Ricard might be going home.
He would be a merge boot. Like I could see him as a merge boot because merge boot.
I could see that too because I mean, but like I said, if everyone's voting, it could change the dynamic. But I do think Luvu's target would probably be. I think it would be better for Luvu to target Evie. She has more connections, but I think there's going to be more pushback to target Evie because players like Tiffany, Xander, Liana aren't going to want Evie to go. Whereas I think they could all agree, like, all right, Ricard can be the merge boot. But if you're the group that's now safe and you're Xander, Erica, Liana, Tiffany, Heather, now's your time though that you can't go home. Maybe it's better to just instead of compromising and sending home Ricard, why not just get together and send home a Luvu?
But how can you get together if there are still 6 Luvu?
But I think Erica would join you.
Oh, yeah.
I could see a world where it's Xander, Evie, Tiffany, Liana, and then Shan and Ricard, and then they pull in Erica to vote out Danny. I think
totally
Danny would be the target.
I totally forgot Erica. She's going to be the wild card.
Yeah.
I even think Nasir, I don't
know because it depends.
I just think because so many Luvu are vulnerable that I think they're more likely to lose a member because it is 6 Luvu, 6 non-Luvu. And now with so many non-Luvu being safe, it's like, why not shoot your shot right now? You can't go home. Even if it ties, you can't go home. Unless Jeff has something up his sleeve.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot to the naysayers that have not been enjoying the season. I don't know what y'all problem is because it's juicy. And I definitely think that the next week's episode, the pot is about to be stirred and we is definitely cooking. Okay. We cooking on the island. Cooking on the island. Cook on the island. But yes, it was so much fun to break down this week's episode with Jack Atkins and Wendell Holland. I appreciate you guys so much for coming on. Who knows, maybe we gotta do this trio again. But yes, what's popping with y'all? Anything y'all want to shout out before we are out?
Go on, Wendell.
Okay, Bryson One present Philadelphia. It's a homecoming. November 17th. Grab your tickets. Tickets are in the links in both of our bios. That's going to be a good one. And that's what I got.
What you got, Emily?
No major plugs out here, Brice, but just super excited to be back on. Looking forward to, if you'll have me, looking forward to coming through again and talking some Survivor. I also just noticed you got the fireplace roaring in the background. I love to see that. But it's great seeing both of you. I mean, it's been an exciting season. I'm so excited to see what happens and what unfolds during the rest of the merge. So
yes, definitely. Maybe we'll see you in person. Who knows? But thank you for tuning in this week. Make sure you guys go to that YouTube page, Brice Isaiah, and watch this video so you can see the baby boys in action. We are out.
It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You're trying to unwind. You better get that box wine. It's the Purple Pants Podcast. You better get your snack and hurry right back.